G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and in this video I'm not just going to show you how to fill a raised garden bed with high sides like this on the cheap and even for free like I've just done. I'm also going to give you a bunch of tips and tricks that I've learnt over the years through my own experience in filling these large beds that will help you take advantage of just about any situation you're in. Let's get into it. I actually filled this bed yesterday and I've left it settle overnight so that I can start planting into it. These ones here I just dug up from our lawn, self-seeded. Can you believe it? Wherever you can get them, get them. So while I continue to fill this bed up with plants, let's go back to a much younger me of yesterday and fill this bed up with dirt. The first thing I'm going to do is put my hat on. It might be approaching winter here, but by crikey that sun's hot. It's going to save my melon nicely. Not good for the camera, but good for the old scone that's balding on top. You might notice that I've already started filling this bed here. What I've done is I've thrown in a whole heap of offcuts. Weeds were on the bottom. The weeds with the seeds that we'll never see again are right at the base of this bed. I wouldn't suggest using weeds or anything like that as fill closer to the surface because you'll invariably dig them up eventually and they'll start weeding throughout your bed. But if they're right at the bottom, a couple of feet down, they're never going to surface and they'll just eventually rot and turn into worm food. Grasses and dug up soil, which I'm going to show you soon, can be easily put into a bed as well. But again, you probably don't want them closest to the surface. You want them a foot or two underneath. Now before I go into the fill that I'm going to put into this bed, I want to go through a bit of my own evolution with you. When I first got these raised garden beds, 2006 I think it was, from Birdies, I first filled them with gravel and also crushed granite. And the reason why I used those drainage materials in the bottom half of those beds was because at the time I was just following the instructions from the company, and I think they still give out these same instructions today. That's okay, but what I've found over the years is that's definitely not necessary. Unless you fill the base with clay, you're not going to have a problem with drainage out of these beds regardless. So in my opinion, you might as well stack the base with good organic matter and some solid organic matter like logs and sticks and twigs that'll take a long time to break down, and as they break down they will absorb moisture and be home for insects and microbes and fungi and worms, and help your plants at the same time grow nice and healthy by allowing your plants to absorb the nutrients that they otherwise would not be able to on their own. Now I like this dug up soil and grass as a fill for a garden bed because it brings me to a good point. You don't want to turn your raised garden bed into a compost heap. There's a big difference between filling it with organic matter and soil to grow veggies in and filling it full of organic matter with a little touch of soil or compost on top and turning it into a compost pile where it generates a heap of heat, and compost piles do, as you know, especially enclosed like that, because that's a good way to build a compost bed, is to build it similar to a raised bed and just throw everything in and have a gate on the front. But that's not what we're doing here. So you've got to make sure that you don't overload it with so much organic matter that it is a compost pile. Otherwise, when you plant your plants in there, all the roots will get burnt and they won't grow. So make sure you definitely do have the half-half formula. Half organic matter, half soil, good garden soil, rough soil, whatever. You can have the top 30 centimeters good organic garden soil mixed with compost and manures and all that beautiful stuff, and then a layer of ordinary soil underneath, and then your organic matter below that. This is a good mixture because it's pretty rough soil mixed in with organic matter. So it's going to give the best of both worlds. And one other thing that this has when you collect it from around your property or a job like this where we're already digging up to create a pathway anyway, is that you might be lucky enough to dig up a whole bunch of garden worms and other microbes and little animals along with that are surviving in the soil underneath the grass. And when you put that into your raised bed, they will of course start to live in that new home. As I'm filling the bed with the rubbish fill, I often get in and walk it down just to compact it down a little bit. That stops the sinkage that happens after a while. It's inevitable anyway, but it just stops the sinkage too soon, because I'd like to get at least a crop out before it sinks down halfway. And if you just throw soil on top of loose material, it might just sit up there with a whole bunch of air pockets and then create sinkholes, and you don't want that. So I jump in and I stamp it down. Once I start filling it with the proper good soil for the top half, I don't compact that down because that's not great for growing veg in. When I am using big clumps of grass like this in the bed, just for added protection so it doesn't have any chance of growing up through that foot of soil that I'm going to put on top of it, I'll turn these clumps upside down and I'll throw them in that way, and they'll just rot under the ground there and turn into worm food. Right, I think we're on the home run. We'll get this good soil that I saved from the old garden beds, and we'll fill that last foot up with all that. And then on top of that, we'll mix in a little bit of good cow manure that's been well rotted for months. Probably got some good worms in it now too. And a bit of mulch on top. See how we go. Look at this fella, sprightly. Oh wow, that is what I love to see in my garden. Throw him down here, bury him over, and you go to work in there and make that your new home, buddy. I'm going to essentially overfill this at the beginning just to allow for a bit of sinkage. Oh crikey, look at all the worms in this. There's just heaps of young worms in here now. Come on, where are you? There you go. Look at that. Look at those beautiful worms. There's heaps of them. Heaps of tiny worms, and that's what I want to start this bed off with. Now what I'll do is I'll break that up carefully by hand when I get up there so I don't, kill too many of the worms. And I'll just break it up and just sprinkle it around the top of the bed. So you're not only getting the goodness of the cow manure, the nutrients, you're also getting the worms and the water holding capacity and the structural capacities of it. You could give that manure a slight little till into the bed. I'm not going to. And I'll let those worms have the best chance possible. Plus I think that it's going to absorb into that top layer pretty quickly anyway and break down. Once I get the mulch on top, start planting in, it'll be nice and rich. Now I didn't add any extra fertiliser like blood and bone to the bed because I think the cow manure will be good enough. But if I find out later that the veggies are lacking in a little bit of nitrogen, I might just give a soluble fertiliser or a bit of blood and bone in and water that in, but we'll just see how it goes for now. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a full thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you share the video around too, because that always helps. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.
That looks great.
Good out of recycled material, isn't it?
So cute too. It looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.